All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Wedding Leaks. This is our second episode of the second season. Tonight is Ask the Expert, Wedding Videography. With me here this evening is none other than Mr. Sean Swanson,
Good evening.
one of the lead videographers at Phenomenal Films. We're going to be talking to Sean this evening about a lot of things. We're going to go over a ton of things. Questions you may already have or you may not even have thought of to ask your wedding videographer. If you don't have a wedding videographer, Sean is the guy that you want.
I am that guy.
So you're considering wedding videography, and there's going to be a lot of things you're going to be going through and thinking about. Maybe you absolutely hate the idea of videography. Ask yourself this important question. In 30 years, can I introduce my grandparents to my grandchildren? Wedding videography is very much like time travel. You're actually seeing the person moving, speaking, having special moments that you may not ever be able to recapture ever again. And wedding videography is that one moment where you're going to be able to capture so many little things that you may have forgot about over the years. It's going to be that keepsake that you're going to be able to have and share with family and friends from generations forthcoming. Video shows so much more than just your wedding guests saying inappropriate things into the camera. Wedding cinematography has exploded in the last 4 years due to technology, new innovative editing styles, and even bride and grooms of the 21st century making wedding videos that much better. No. Wedding video is not where we take video of you spinning around in a circle in the morning and then a flash happens and magically you're transformed into your wedding gown. No, that does not happen anymore. That was in like the 80s and 90s. That's cheesy, and if your videographer does that, run. Just run. The wedding video in the 80s was a must-have. The 90s, it turned into, if I have the extra cash, sure. Then in the early 2000s, something happened where almost little to no people were considering doing wedding video. Photography really did replace the need of having a wedding video, and it did something there. It changed kind of the industry, so there was a decline in wedding video. Then something happened. DSLRs hit the market and the industry exploded. Now you may be asking yourself, well, what is a DSLR? Sean's going to get into it a little bit more in depth, but in kind of layman's terms, it's the exact same camera that your wedding photographer would use to take photos of you at your wedding. So if you see those photos, think of them moving in the quality. The industry absolutely exploded. Wedding videos no longer looked like video. They looked like wedding movies. They had a more cinematic look and feel to them. So with me this evening is Sean Swanson, like I said in the beginning, who is the videographer manager at Phenomenal Films. And tonight we're going to be going over a lot. So again, join in the chat, ask questions, stop us at any time if you think you have an idea or even have a question or something to add to it, or even a video horror story. We want to hear it all. This is Wedding Links. We don't sugarcoat anything, and we want to know exactly what you're looking for. We're not trying to sell you on a videographer, but more or less explain why video can change your life. And yes, I said it can change your life. Believe me, it really can. Sean, would you say that video today how is it compared to wedding video 5 to 10 years ago?
Oh God, it's so much different. The wedding video, it's actually frustratingly different, because the wedding video that came 5-10 years ago, as you alluded on, as much as it's changed, that stigma has still stuck around. So I have brides nowadays that still almost have those images of maybe their parents getting married or their siblings getting married, and they see the videos and they see just boring stuff. And by my saying boring, I mean camera sitting in the middle of the aisle, sitting in one corner of the room doing prep, something like that, and just recording, and that's how you get your video. And now it's, it's so much different. The DSLRs just completely changed things, the ability of these things, the shallow depth of field. Back in the day, you had the big old shoulder, like 5-10 years ago, you had the big cameras that you can't, these weigh 5 pounds, the other ones weigh, 20, 30, 40, you got the huge cameras running around, you can't move anywhere with them. But nowadays you have things like the glide cam, which I'll show you a little later in the show, stabilizers, something like that, where we can just get completely different shots than we used to be able to, and with completely different shots we can edit completely different movies with your wedding videos, make them so much more exciting, so much more enjoyable, so much more interactive. We can see much more people. You can so that's how I would say it changed. It's so much better now. This is why trying to convince a bride to go with it now, it's just so hard because of that stigma, and I want to break it. Don't think of wedding videos like that. It's not like that anymore.
So when a bride and groom come to you, I mean, what are they looking for? I mean, when they walk through the door and they talk to you about their wedding video, what are they looking for that you offer that no one else does?
Well, they just want their dream day. They just want that's what they want from you. They want you to make them a dream video. They want you to make them a love story, and the way the approach is now to do that today is so much different than it was back in the day. I can tell such a different story about a bride and groom now with these cameras and their abilities than someone used to be able to 10 years ago.
So what makes the video so different? I mean, what is it about the video that you can do that you couldn't do 20 years ago?
Well, me personally, I think what differentiates me even nowadays, what differentiates me, is just the way I approach it. When we say cinematic films, when we say that's the style now, what I like to tell a bride is, go home, if you don't want to do this now, go home, put in your favorite movie, get 10 to 15 minutes into the movie, pause it, and just look at the screen. Look at the background, look at there might be a blue house, there might be a school, there might be a certain street sign. And the thing that we take for granted in movies is that particular scene was scouted out hours and hours and hours for that to look that specific way. And that's kind of how I look at a wedding day. Like, this certain thing is only going to look like this during your wedding day, and that's how I view my job as a videographer, because photo has its part. You get the bride and groom in these certain love poses, and that looks cool in the albums and all that stuff. That's come along too, and it's beautiful. I don't mean to take anything away from photo, but videography used to be so much less boring that you couldn't do the different angles and stuff like that.
Sure.
And sorry, what did you say?
Oh no, so what you're saying is, I mean, you guys will scout out the locations, come up with ideas, and the bride and groom really, the creative end is on just their day happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's so, it really is, like when we say cinematic, we're not just trying to build things up. It really is like that. Like these cameras, DSLRs, like we'll go into.
And you brought one tonight.
I brought one here, this is a Canon Mark III.
So explain to me what, for the bride and groom who have no idea what this is, you're just holding to them what looks to be, a camera that, they may think that you can get at Best Buy. You clearly cannot pick this up at Best Buy. This
is a DSLR. It's actually one of the top of the line DSLRs. It's the Canon 5D Mark III, especially for video. You can see, I'll show you the inside of it here. That is the mirror right there. Clicks up. I don't know if I can do it for you here. I'll even show you. See that go? That's what it does. That's what it does internally. Not that that has anything to do with what I'm going to say, but just wanted to show you. I don't want to get too technical here, but these little guys, the things that they can do is unbelievable. I've gone to theaters I'm from Rochester, New York. I've gone to theaters in Rochester, New York, where entire independent films have been shot on this guy. These are meant for photo, so they're generically cheaper than photo, than the big time video cameras. I mean, you can do video cameras can range up to $250,000 for like the big IMAX, 4K, all that stuff. But this, $3,000, $4,000, you can get your hand on one of these, and you can get comparable shots, especially if you know what you're doing in post-production when you go to edit in Premiere, all that stuff. And that's another reason why it's changed so much, is to get that quality of shot, to get that quality of image in your wedding film. It's just
so So for the 4 people who have just joined us as guests, I just want to remind you, you can join to be a viewer, which will allow you to join in the chat. It's really easy to do. You can actually link it with your Facebook and actually log in so you can join the chat with us this evening. We just started talking a little bit about how wedding videography has changed over the years. To kind of reiterate, Sean was just explaining that, with the change of technology and the change of time, wedding videos aren't what they used to be. They're not, Uncle Tom running around with his handy cam. And that's really cool. I mean, you were actually telling me earlier that there was a lot of very high budget movies that were shot with these cameras. I think just to list a few of the movies, Act of Valor, which was the Marine movie that was out last year, that I believe even received a few awards. That was shot completely with the Canon 5D Mark II, and so was Wreck-It Ralph was shot with that. They did stop motion. So some really great movies that have come out in the past few years have used these cameras to actually shoot Hollywood budget films. And you're shooting wedding videos right here in Western New York with the same equipment.
And I say these things to kind of put it into perspective, because brides come up and they're like, "Whoa, that's so expensive," and it's like, these are $1 million budgeted films using these little guys, and we're shooting. I mean, we're not shooting. They take months and months to shoot. We're only shooting one day, but we're shooting on these cameras that have these budgets. And
now, could you say, anyone could go out and buy that camera and do exactly what you do?
No. I mean, not everyone, but it's definitely a lower budget camera to give you that type of image that just can blow someone away. It just is unbelievable.
Because and I want to thank Julie Jenkins for joining the chat. Julie, at any time if you have questions for Sean. Again, we have just started talking, Julie, the big thing about wedding videography, we had just kind of jumped into how wedding video has changed over the years. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So Sean, just to kind of, reiterate a little bit, wedding videos are completely shot on the cameras that photographers use, that we're always using, but now videography is hybrid. I guess you could say it's like a hybrid to it.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So what are some ideas for a bride and groom to consider when planning on having wedding video? I mean, what do they need to consider? I mean, what is their first mindset? Because I think a lot of brides and grooms going with the idea of going, wedding video is cheesy. My friends have it and never watch it. That's their biggest concern. They have it, they just never watch it.
It just comes with that stigma that they see. I think it's just something that we have to break the habit of when it comes to wedding videography and implanting in brides' minds. It's just a different field now. And so some ideas. That you have to do some research on that. Go online, look at stuff. There's lots of stuff out there. You can even go on, Phenomenon. You can see what we do. We see that, there's other Buffalo things but as far as ideas, when planning on having a wedding video, I would definitely make sure they shoot with one of these, because if they don't, like he was saying, run. So that's one thing I would make sure that when you're looking at a company, that's another thing too, is just make sure that you can see a sample. We go to bridal shows. And all the bridal shows I've been to, and people have, like, we were at the bridal show in Pittsburgh, and some guy was on a Kindle was showing his video, and Kindle, it's a cool thing, but it's about 7 inches high, and it's just, I think $200, maybe $250. You can buy a big screen TV for $100 more, a 32-inch TV, and display. Like, if they don't care enough to show you their videos, that's not what you want. Like, at the bridal show, we had a 65-inch TV that, we want to show our product. We want you to see it. And to find a company like that, I think, would be in your benefit, because it shows that they just are really invested in what they do and really love what they do. And I definitely take pride in what I do. So I would play it on the movie screen if I had one at the bridal shows. You know what I mean? So that's one thing when it comes to, trying to find a videographer, I guess, if you, in that way of coming up with ideas on what you want. So
what, tell me just because, again, we do have new guests coming in, and we have new viewers. At any time, if you have a question for Sean, feel free to ask. But Sean, in the meantime, tell me what your favorite wedding video story is. Like, you had one day where it was so memorable. I mean, just give us a few examples, because one big thing, brides and grooms love is hearing about other wedding days and stories and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about, what was your favorite shoot, or what was the most exciting moment? Like, what made you realize that you love doing wedding videography?
Oh, well, yeah, loving, but it goes back to the movie thing, like being able to get that feel of even shoot, like you get the feel of watching a movie. I love getting the feel of shooting a movie, and there's no better way to do that than shooting a wedding, going out, scouting a location, making this perfect for the bride and groom on their day. It's just, but as far as wedding stories, man, there's one wedding this summer where my assistant came out with me, went to the groom's house, texted me about 10 minutes into the shoot and goes, their dog just bit my leg. I need to find another pair of pants. Ripped about this far, Banana Republic, new pair of pants, probably $120 pair of pants. Bought them 2 weeks ago, ripped a huge thread in it, big old gash on his leg.
Wow.
Yep, almost left, but
wow.
We stuck it through for that one. I just thought that was hilarious. He didn't like it so much, but I had to laugh when I got to see him. Another favorite was one I shot this summer where the bride and groom were really cool, and they let us do, they had so many ideas, and that's another thing on the wedding day. If you have ideas for your wedding video, feel free. I've had bride and groom be kind of nervous to be in front of the camera.
Sure.
I can tell they have these ideas, that they've come up with ideas, working with them, but they just don't want to tell me because they're nervous. There's so much other stuff going on, which is understandable because it's a wedding, but this couple was so cool, and we did like a little poker skit at the beginning with the groom. Okay. And we did it to the Benny Hill theme, which I don't know if you've ever heard the Benny Hill theme, but it's like this, fast-paced like chase scene kind of music.
Yep.
And so, it's this whole premise, this whole, it made up probably half of the short film, and it ended up being really cool. But then later on, the same couple had this idea of walking around downtown Buffalo and just having these passionate moments, like he would throw her against the wall and give her a big old kiss, or he'd throw her in a car and and so the whole short film was just this giant scripted thing, and it was so cool, it was so much fun.
That's awesome.
It was fun to edit, it was fun to shoot, it was fun, the whole day was fun. When that happens, it makes our jobs easier, it makes the film better. It just, all around, it just is, so I love those kind of weddings. That's why that sticks out in my head.
So kind of getting back to that, you said that the bride and groom had ideas, and they came up with ideas of different things to do, and maybe even a little bit of scripting and acting. Is there a better way for brides and grooms to better prepare themselves for the wedding day video? Is there something they can do? Obviously they're not going to go ahead and watch the movie Twilight and go, I want to reenact Twilight for my wedding day video. But is there something they can do to add that little bit of cinematic flair to the wedding day?
There's tons of stuff. Even if you don't, you meet with your videographer or whatever, and you can't think of anything then. We're paid to do this. We're videographers, we're editors. I have ideas through, up to Mars and back of things that we could do throughout the wedding day. So if you don't have anything on the spot, but just things to look for, even simple things, like there's Pinterest now that has all these ideas. Anything that you want for us to do, you paid us to be here. This is for you. This is your day. So if anything you want us to do, that is fine with me, or I'm sure any videographer that would come to your wedding day. Just don't be scared to ask, or don't be nervous to ask, or anything like that. As far as preparing before, definitely look into, like I said before, choosing a company, but when afterwards look into them. We've had brides come in and watch their videos, and almost like it's not what they expected, and it's like, well, you booked us because you watched this? So just being prepared with what you're getting, almost not that we're not going to tell you, or something like that, but definitely look into what you're getting, because it's one day. You want it to be perfect, and I'm going to do my best to make it perfect. But if it's not what is suited for you, then go somewhere else, because it's all about you being happy. That's what that's what the wedding day is all about.
Sure. Yeah, in the wedding industry, one thing a bride and groom should know is that, I guess style-wise, if you're looking for something more simple, it may not be what you want. Wedding video, you know, some people look at a wedding video and are happy with Uncle Tom running around with the handy cam all night. That may be the wedding video for you.
Which is fine.
And then and then there is the wedding video that, you know, you guys produce and you put together, and it almost, you know, it's sometimes, from the ones, you know, I've watched, it's sometimes overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you watch it and you're like, oh my God, like, that's crazy. Like, how's, you know, it's so much to people, I guess, sometimes, that they're almost not prepared for what you're putting out. And it's exciting, but again, it's not for everyone. But at the same time, as a bride and groom, when you're making decisions about your wedding videography or your planning of details, you want to make sure that you do your research, you look into things, but be careful where you do your research. I mean, there's a lot of articles out there. Even preparing for this show, I was reading, you know, questions that they want you to ask your videographer. A perfect example of one was, you know, does your videographer shoot in HD? Well, in today's time, if they're not shooting in HD, you should be pretty afraid. You know, high definition is everywhere. I mean, you walk into Best Buy, there is not a TV that isn't HD ready. You can't find an old boob tube anymore, you know, or a standard 4:9 aspect ratio TV. It just doesn't happen. Or 4:3, excuse me. You know, the wedding videography has kind of revolutionized the industry, so much so that with these cameras, you know, it's a completely different world. And you know, you want to make sure that whoever you're looking into and whoever you're hiring has a visual repertoire of just not one great video. You want to make sure their videos look consistent over the course of how many years they've been doing this. You know, I'm sure if you were to go back 4 years, your video 4 years ago doesn't look like your video today, because of how fast technology changes. So, you know, what are some benefits of the DSLR video versus conventional video cameras? Because, I mean, conventional video cameras, I've seen videographers at weddings where they have these massive cameras and they're running around with these giant lights on top of the camera. You know, they're just everywhere. They're every 2 inches, and, you know, you almost don't know what to, you know, you don't almost know what to expect. You know, I mean, it's like they're putting on an actual Hollywood film at your wedding. And I mean, DSLRs, they seem small and kind of compact, like you can almost fit in anywhere. I mean, how would you say they really truly beneficially are different from?
They're beneficent for us. You just the almost, you could say, the ergonomics of it, because of how light it is. Like zipping around with this thing is so much easier than those big time cameras trying to and just the reaction speed of these. Like, they're built, especially this one, the Mark III. This is built to shoot video. The processing speed of this is super fast. Trying to, you know, process the depth of field, which by that I mean, like, the shallow would be me in focus and everything else autofocus. You know, for it to do that so as fast as it does, that's what makes it such a nice camera. And, you know, full frame sensor, which means that whatever I shoot in this, you're going to see it. So I can shoot, you know, so much in one frame, which is, like, I had a wedding at Holiday Valley. You know, the stuff you can get with that is breathtaking. You know, the entire horizon, all the landscape of the hills, the ski slopes,
the valley, and all that. Yeah, it's going to be gorgeous.
Breathtaking. And then, you know, a lot of it has to do with the lenses too, which is, you know, I just happen to have this on the camera. It's what sees the image. So
now, sometimes the lenses cost more than the camera, right? And for good reason, I'm assuming. There's lenses that are better in low light conditions, and there's lenses that are sharper, faster. I mean, you know, not to confuse a bride and groom too much, but I mean, you know, what should they be looking for if they're looking for a videographer that shoots with a DSLR? You know, what should they ask about the equipment?
Well, if you have done your research on it, and I shoot here with the L series, which is, you know, one of Canon's best lines of lenses here. You know, crazy expensive. The reason why they're expensive is because what you're looking at here, the glass right here, just makes the image super sharp, super detailed.
So basically, if a bride's on the dance floor and she's dancing with all her bridesmaids, you're going to be able to get this just super sharp shot of them without needing a giant light.
Which is, oh god, that's gross. I mean, I'm sorry if your wedding video looks like that, but I gotta say it's gross. With the light shining over the camera on their faces, it reminds me of Ghost Hunter. Like, if you've seen the show Ghost Hunter, that's what it reminds me of. Yeah. It's just, ugh. So, with these, you capture a much better image, in those low light situations, with the colors all there, especially with this camera, the noise, which is like the grain you see in the screen, is so much reduced that, it's probably better than any conventional camera that you'll see shooting a wedding nowadays, because it's so powered to do that sort of thing with the updates that it had from the, its predecessor, the Mark II. So, as far as equipment, that's what, there's other cameras too. Like, I'm not a Canon fanboy, as they call them, by any means. I put a good camera in my hand, I'm going to shoot something amazing with it. There's good Nikons out there. But that's the kind of thing I could go into a 2-hour discussion right now with you on, different cameras that are nice and not nice and blah, blah, blah. So that's just something you got to do your research on. Sony's, all that kind of stuff.
So what are some hot new trends that brides and grooms can expect for 2013, 2014 wedding videos? Because I've seen some of the stuff you guys have been doing recently, and like there's ultra slow motion, there's there's just crazy editing things that you guys do that I look at and go, all right, that looks like something that was in a movie. What are some trends? Are you going more for the black and white videos? Because I see some of that mixed in there. What are some things that brides and grooms, what should they be looking for in the video and going, wow, I want that at my wedding?
Well, the cinematic feels, I think, is a big thing. I looked up a company the other day based out of Hollywood that, costs $150 grand for a wedding, but they budget out actors, they budget out, they have super expensive equipment, so they literally make a movie out of your wedding with.
And that's on the day of the wedding?
That's on the day of the wedding, and it was the premise was these kids who were sitting next to each other on a dock, and one asked the other, I have this to give to the bride, but I don't know where she is. So the whole trailer was them trying to find, and they did, and that's how the bride and groom. It's it's crazy.
Wow.
That sort of content, the way it's moving towards that cinematic feel, which that could sweep through the wedding industry, and that's what we'd all be doing.
Now,
10 years.
What's this? You guys obviously shot my wedding video.
Yeah.
I recently got married in December, which some of you know if you're a follower of mine on either Facebook, Twitter, or even Pinterest, and online. The big thing, when you guys did my wedding video, I had 4 videographers, but it was because I wanted a same-day edit. Can you explain to a bride and groom a little bit more what a same-day edit is?
It's also another popular trend, but I'm still surprised that bridal shows not a lot of brides heard of it. So I hope whoever's watching now spreads the word on this. But the same-day edit is usually you could do 3, 4, but you want at least 3. We did 4 for his wedding. But what happens is, we start in the morning like always, 10 in the morning. We do the prep, group prep, bride prep, and then we go to the ceremony like always, do the ceremony, and at the end of the ceremony, one person. This time we took our computers that we use here to edit normally. We got a little rig to lug that to the reception hall, and then we took the cards from everyone that shot.
The
cards. I meant the footage. I took all the footage, and we bring it to this computer, plug it all in, and I actually edited a 5-minute film in about an hour and a half to 2 hours to play at the reception, and. You were there, I was there. People were
awesome.
Tearing up at this wedding, especially, it's just stuff no one else was able to see, and it's just, to have it that day. It's just a super cool thing.
It was very cool because, we live, as a bride and groom, I've been in the industry for 15 years, and, coming back and seeing so many things that brides and grooms do, the guests only get to see kind of a portion of the day, and it was nice because all of our guests at our wedding reception could actually sit there while they're having their dessert and watch everything we went through in the morning, the ride on the limo, the going down, the bride walking down the aisle, everything, and it was like empowering, and the way it was edited. It was a short movie at our wedding reception of the same day stuff. It was incredible. It was like people were talking about it all night long, and I couldn't give enough credit to you guys for the hard work you did, because that's not easy to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, to put a 5-minute short film, I mean, you're talking uncompressed HD video, which I understand, compressed down into 5 minutes of all that entire day. I mean, it's just you just don't do something like that as quickly as you'd like to with that kind of turnout, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. And people to this day are still talking about how amazing it was. So
it kind of adds a different light to the day, to be able to see all that, especially as a guest. Especially everyone does it. You invite Uncle Larry, or third, or your fourth cousin from your sister's cousin's side of the family, and it almost lets people that you don't know a lot necessarily at your wedding, because there's always a few of those.
Sure.
That just into your life a little bit, and it's and parents who couldn't be at prep and all this stuff. I just think it adds, like you said, people just talk about it, and it's it adds a different light to the day. It's a good ending, not ending because you still have the whole reception, but it's just a good transition,
for the entire day.
Yeah, it's just. It's a good feel. Sort of.
We're going to be taking questions here in a few minutes, so the 4 or 5 guests that I know keep popping on and off, if you're having connection issues, log in. You do get a better connection. Julie Jenkins, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. So now, one question that I always get when I'm sitting down with a bride and groom, they're always concerned about the photographer versus the videographer, because I want to say in that period of the 2000s, the middle 2000s, I think a lot of photographers put emphasis onto brides and grooms that, hey, you don't need a videographer at your wedding. Like,
God knows.
Get in my way. If they get in my way, they're going to ruin all your wedding photos, which isn't true. You guys now are less obtrusive than, I would say, the photographer.
Yeah, it's true.
And with that being said, I mean, do you ever notice now, with the way technology is, I mean, do you notice photographers giving you a harder time? Do you guys ever fight at the weddings? I mean, brides and grooms, I mean, it's their special day. Obviously, they want everything to run smoothly, but there is some of the, little back alley stuff that happens that they don't know about. But I mean, do you guys ever hit each other with each other's cameras, or you get any arguments, or you usually play pretty nice?
The approach I take, especially if they ever make me mad, I guess, is we're here for the same cause. There's no reason to do anything stupid or anything unprofessional, because we're both here for the bride and groom, and to jeopardize their day for some selfish pride issue on photography versus videography. To me it's kind of stupid, but to say that there are some photographers that that I've worked with that have just simply irritated me because they don't almost like they don't appreciate what I'm doing. Like, they'll get in my shot, they'll look back, they don't think it's important because I have 18 other hours to edit from, so we'll just edit this part out, and it's it's frustrating because as much as we can do that, like, look at how big this thing is. It's maybe 5 inches wide. The tripod comes out from right here, so it's maybe 2 inches wide. It's like you can't find in this entire universe another spot to take your picture. It's like,
well, you're rolling video, and I think, I'm not talking down the photography end of things, because photography is important. I mean,
like I said earlier, photography has its role, and it's definitely very important to get those moments of the bride and groom. That that's why photography's been around forever, and it's been around forever for a reason. It's just that's what makes an additional thing that makes the bride and groom's day special. And so I don't want to take away from that.
Sure,
but I just think this, especially, kind of the reason I think why is because this can scare photographers, because the evolution of this camera for video is they're coming out with another camera that shoots even better video than this, but it is a DSLR, so
Well, it's funny you mention it, because I was reading something the other day that said that Canon has a new camera coming out that's completely 4K, and what it does is it shoots 4K video, which is roughly around the exact same size file type as a photographer's photo. When they click the shutter on their camera and take that photo, when they snap that photo, it's the same size, which if you have all the right correct lenses, you can get the same exact quality. And
which is scary because to a photographer, because the photographer sets up the shot, takes the picture, and that's what they have for that shot.
Correct.
Video, what we shoot in what's called 24 frames per second, which means every second, technically every 24 photos are being taken to make that
in 1 second.
In 1 second, 24 photos. So that means, in a trailer, you have, math. You say you have a 3-minute trailer. That's 60. 120, 180 times 24. That's how many pictures you have in that trailer, technically, with what this camera shoots. And what the 4K means is that every single one of those 24 frames per second is just as good as any one photo that a photographer will take. So you almost, there's still things like motion blur that can sometimes ruin the thing, but you almost are guaranteed not to miss a single perfect moment, because all photographers out there, ask them, they might lie to you, they might not, but it's truth that all photographers out there take a picture and they're like, oh, I wish I took that half a second sooner because I saw it, but they can't do that because they have that one shot that they took. So I think that's why it scares them a little bit, because we have that ability now.
Canon, and what the article I was reading was produced by Canon, where Canon actually brought in a bunch of photographers and made them shoot video for a day, and did the same kind of thing that they would do on a photo shoot, but with a video. And they were trying to compare side by side the video and regular photo stills, and it was almost unnoticeably. It was almost unnoticeable, the difference. And so, a photographer is still very important. For anybody out there who just thinks, what we're saying is, hey, guess what? You don't need a photographer anymore. That's not true. Your photographer still plays a very important role to your day. They set up the shots. They they pose you. Whereas it's a little bit more difficult for you to do because you're on something consistent, that you're consistently rolling, so you just can't set the camera up and hope for a good shot. Another article that we saw today, actually, when we were getting ready for the show, Google is coming out with a new product called Google Glass.
Incredible.
And when I first saw this, the first thing I immediately thought of was, well, how is this going to revolutionize wedding videography? Because if you aren't aware, and you can Google the video Google Glass, there are glasses that you can actually wear on your face, and it has a window that is in the glass that you can actually do voice prompts. You can record video right from the glasses. It has a camera built in. There's all these crazy little things, and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to absolutely revolutionize the way wedding videography works, because you're going to have this awesome, absolute awesome wedding video from a first-person point of view. Bride's walking down, and say you do, as a bride and groom, you do wear glasses, okay? I want to welcome Leaker Fan 2013. Welcome. Please feel free to join in the chat, ask any questions. But getting back to the Google Glass, a bride could wear her glasses down the aisle and could be recording this video that later she can give to you, and you guys can edit this in. That's a wedding videographer's dream to have that view. Am I correct in that?
It is as non-obtrusive as we are, and we kind of have to be. It is frustrating sometimes that there's some angles that we just would love to get, and that would be one of them if we could get. They're just a little bar right here, little glasses, and then there's just a little piece that comes over, so you see through it. And like he said, you can do all this stuff with them, and to get that.
I was looking at
even from the groom, if bride and groom were wearing them, oh god, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, so and I'm not saying that run out and go get your eyes checked because you want to get a pair of Google Glass. I'm sure they're going to have ones that are going to be more stylish. that you can wear. But kind of go over it. I mean, do you feel that is also going to make a huge change in the next 5 years for wedding videos?
Yeah, that, and there's a bunch of stuff. Like I would like to show everyone this phone I just got. This is called the iPhone 5, and I've seen professionals in the industry. They have these $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. This is what $3,600 camera, but they're shooting with their iPhone, because the iPhone, one, it can shoot HD now.
Full 1080p, right?
Yep. And two, with the apps that you have available on the iPhone, you can put some absolutely crazy filters on your video to give it. I mean, you can do it in post afterwards, but we're in an age now where efficiency matters. And so when you can do it on the iPhone and make it look just as good as if you took this thing and put it in post, it won't be just as good, but comparable.
Sure.
Where you compare these two, why wouldn't you choose this option to film with? So I think this will revolutionize the wedding video industry a little more than the glass, if nothing else, to even just advertise or testimonials or interviews, even like to set up interview. A lot of bride and grooms that I've come across want interviews of bridal guests, stuff like that. And the iPhone would be you could even get to a point where I just put an iPhone on a thing, ask the bride and groom to take it around, and be, hey, do it yourself. Interview. They know the people. So it's just, there's a lot of cool things that are coming out that I think will just take the wedding industry by storm, whether it comes to ads that bride and grooms are going to see to try to book stuff, add the actual wedding day stuff, like the Google Glass down the aisle, putting the rings on, when can you imagine the vows after actual shots of putting the rings on the fingers kind of stuff.
From the Google Glass type.
Yeah. There's a bunch of different shots that you could come up with that I think will just drive the wedding video industry. And it's so competitive that all this stuff's coming out, and it's all coming out right now. Like, we're going through like a technological video revolution right now, and it's kind of exciting to be in.
Well, so with that being said, I know we just talked about it, and Leakerfan, I'd really appreciate you joining the chat. Should I just use my iPhone or get a videographer?
Oh no, definitely get a videographer.
No, we were just talking about how the iPhone is so revolutionized. The way even you take photos, or most people don't bring a digital camera anywhere anymore. They use their iPhone because the quality is so good. You're talking a 10 megapixel camera, still camera crammed in with full HD 1080p. On the day of your wedding, your videographer shooting with, what could be a $10,000 camera, and he may want to get into a tight shot, or even just like he was saying, hand the bride and groom the iPhone on a stabilizer, and they can just walk around through the party and just get random shots, and if the shot works, you can work it in with the video.
I've done the shot where, during the dancing floor stuff, and you just hand the bride and groom this camera, and you say, here, point it at yourself and dance with it, and it's a really cool shot. It's like a third person view, I think, of them actually dancing right there. But to this can take, especially in post. That's another thing. When I say comparable, I mean this going into what we edit with afterwards.
You can make it look.
Okay. They do look nice coming out of the iPhone, but to bring it in and put some effects to it in the editing process is what I mean by making it comparable. But to give a bride and groom this to shoot some stuff with, shoot some, tell them to hold it up to their face and shoot some first person point of view as they're walking on the dance floor.
I could see something
like that
cool, like having it maybe wired into the groom's jacket or something fun like that, where the groom's getting ready and he's putting on his jacket, and you have that kind of stuff. It's cool. And then just some final comments about that is, Leaker Fan says, no, you don't want to. You don't have to hire the videographer with the most expensive gear. That's a misconception. You need to hire a videographer who knows what they're doing. And yeah, doing your research is correct. You know, the big pitfall that most brides and grooms that I see make is they fall for these guys who have these stock videos of videos they didn't even shoot, which can be very scary. There's a lot of wedding videographers out there that they buy royalty-free footage and they post it on their website. One big important thing that I'll mention to most brides and grooms 9 times out of 10 is go into the office and watch 5 or 6 wedding videos. Don't be afraid to sit there and watch, ask to see that stuff, because you want to make sure consistently the quality is going to be right across the board. Mm-hmm. And that's the big thing that you want to make sure. You don't want to actually book a videographer in hopes that the one video he showed you, that's how your wedding video is going to turn out. If you go on to Phenomenal Films Vimeo account, you're going to see over 300 wedding videos, and they all consistently look the same. So that's a good thing to look for, is consistency. Mm-hmm. Now, when we talk about technology and we talk about things change, so if a bride books this year, in 2013, and her wedding isn't until 2014, she can expect the video is obviously going to grow and get better. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? I've seen you guys do some crazy stuff of hanging a video camera out the side of a car window.
But I wouldn't say right away, because as saying these things with cameras replacing, those cameras are $12,000-$13,000. So it's going to take a little while for the price on those to go down to where, a lot of lower budget production companies, the bridal shows, are going to have their hands on these cameras to be able to shoot with. So that's going to be a little while. So if you're getting married in the next 2 years, I wouldn't completely worry about it then. But so to answer Leaker fan's question with the will video replace in the next few years, I would say
will it replace photography?
Sorry, photography. Yeah. I wouldn't postpone. It'll probably take longer than that for that price to come down on these certain cameras. And when you
it's not even, the technology isn't even really there from what I've researched. Here's what you have to understand: a photographer and a videographer do 2 completely different jobs of the day of your wedding. Your videographer is constantly rolling, they're constantly getting footage, they're constantly on top of making sure that, hey, you know what, I have this to shoot and I have to get it like this. And they have kind of a script or an idea in their head. Whereas your photographer is worried about, hey, we got to pose you this way, we got to get grandparents in here. So you're always going to have the need of that person being there to kind of organize group photos, get shots of you and the groom. Photography and videography, yes, they're very close right now in technology, but on what they do on your wedding day, I feel like they play 2 completely different roles.
Their skill sets are different still. So saying one will replace the other, I guess, isn't really the right terminology here. I guess I almost call it like a merger. Like, you're going to start seeing more people trained in both photography and videography doing your wedding, because then they have both assets to do certain things at certain points in the wedding with this technology, so they can get a good final product for both photography and videography kind of thing. So sure. I wouldn't say one's going to replace the other necessarily, because like we were alluding to, it's still a different skill set. Like, there's some photography stuff that I don't know, like flash rules and all that stuff, and there's photographers that don't really know how to do video. Like, the habits are different, the skill sets are different. So on that aspect, I don't think one is ever going to go away or replace the other. Just the technology is merging together to a point where people are going to have to start learning both skill sets, both.
They may start teaching that in schools and stuff like that. So there may be this technological boom of we're all going to use the exact same camera one day, and there may be something that'll come out where it's dual, and there's technology is so fun in that aspect. Even with the Google Glass, it can change and modernize what we already do. Look at the iPhone. The iPhone is not even 8 years old, but it's something that revolutionized the way we use these things. This is a computer now. This has more computing power than Apollo 13 ever did. I mean, that's scary. I mean, scary but cool, you know, and that's what we mean by, you know, photography and videography are coming so close together now. And as Julie Jenkins just said, you know, the art is in the editing too, you know, and that's true. It's very true, you know. And we're going to dip into that more this season because I have a whole segment based on wedding photography and talking about editing and even showing you different styles of what's going to change. We even have an Ask the Expert on that. No, you definitely can't check your email with the Canon.
But I don't think the 60 Canon 60 has
Wi-Fi,
and it also has GPS. So even that, in the camera aspect, technology is it's always changing, always changing.
They have a new camera coming out too that I was reading that it's got the Wi-Fi, and when a photographer snaps the photo, it'll actually do an automated backup to their laptop. So again, you know, brides and grooms, technology is changing so fast, and I don't want to stick on technology all night long, but technology is changing so fast that, you know, you're going to never have to, you know, like, I mean, there's errors across the board, you know, with cards. I mean, memory, things change so frequently that, you know, things happen, and, you know, it's nice because they're making these steps to be able to have these backups and little things here and there. So it's very cool. So I appreciate Leaker fans' questions, and they were great questions. They really were. There was some awesome stuff that really kind of honed in on, you know, weddings and wedding videography. It's important for a bride and groom to ask questions like that. It's really, really very cool that you are that into it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, again, any questions anybody has, feel free to ask them. Now, just kind of to wrap things up and ask, you know, my final question. So, what about product? When you guys finish a wedding video and you hand the bride and groom their product, what can you give them that's different and new now? I mean, we have iPads, we have all different kinds of things. You know, we have tablets in photo albums now. I mean, it's just
say they have, you know, we offer the Fusion album here, which is an iPad in the front of your album where it comes with the videos and stuff like that. You know,
it's a tablum right in the front of the album, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. The other really neat thing is you guys are doing everything on Bluray now. Bluray seems to be the new wave of the future, which is, if you don't know, Bluray is a disc format that took over DVD in high definition. DVD only can produce up to X amount of pixels, whereas Blu-ray can actually do the full 1080, which is what they shoot in. Which is
actually, I think it's roughly 4.5 or 5 times the information that you get on a DVD that's on a Blu-ray. So it's, you know, by information I mean those pixels, the clarity, the detail of the shot. You get 5 times more of that on a Blu-ray than you would a DVD. So that's kind of why it's shifted to that, just because it's an overall, like that's actually a really big jump in technology. I can't believe they haven't come out of that sooner. But so yeah, we do offer the Blu-ray. I mean, you know, we could dump everything on a hard drive. All the 200 and something gigs we'll shoot, we can dump it on a hard drive and give it to you.
Well, that's another good question. I mean, that's, you guys must take, I mean, it takes a while to edit 250 gigs of video from a person's wedding day. I mean, that's a lot of information. How does that work? I mean, when you guys bring that into the computer, I mean, it must take a long time for you guys to edit, and sometimes I can assume that you're not expecting the length of time something would normally take to edit, you know, that it would take longer. Does that happen pretty frequently, or would you say that's, you know, just a common?
Oh yeah, especially, you know, it depends on the shoot. Usually takes, you know, I'd say roughly 50 hours, 60 hours to edit a full wedding for what we do, which is, it's a lot of time when you got other things. That's a full work week at least, and then when you get, you know, 100 of those to do a year, it adds up quickly. So, and you know, some take longer than others. You know, you'll have shoots that, you know, the flow of the wedding has gone better. Like I said, some of the stories. Like I had one bride mess up. The hair got messed up, so we actually were 45 minutes late to the ceremony. I was there on time, but the bride was 45 minutes late to the ceremony. So there's certain, sometimes you just lose out on footage, and it makes the flow of the wedding, makes it a little hard to edit at the end because
things happen.
Yeah, things like that happen. I had one wedding where the mom took the wrong car, and all the dress and the veil, all that stuff was actually in the other car that she was supposed to take in the trunk. So I spent 45 minutes in the bride's hotel room trying to talk her down, and it was just me and her. Got no footage of that, and I was like the bride's crying shoulder at that moment, getting ready for her to put the dress on, all that stuff.
She like the knight in shining armor.
Yeah,
the videographer that comes to the rescue of the wedding, the bride.
She goes, hey mom, I'm ready to put my dress on. She goes, okay, let me go get it. She gets a call 5 minutes later. Oh, we don't have it. I'm sitting there in the room. The bride breaks down. It's like, oh no. So just things like that can throw off the flow of the wedding. Which can make it a little more difficult to edit, just because with editing comes that flow, and that kind of thing can make it easier. So that's one thing that can make it a little harder. Some things that make some weddings have a good a great flow to them, like that one wedding I was talking about with how they're cool and they're really into it and very interactive with us doing all the shoots. That was probably the smoothest wedding I've had all year.
Sometimes brides and grooms seem like they're more interested in the videography than sometimes the photography end of it, right?
Which is a nice surprise. It's a nice surprise. It makes our job a little easier when they're they're interested in what I'm doing. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm just going to open things up for questions here. We have a few minutes left. I know Leaker fan, she must have got disconnected, or he got disconnected. Would Julie Jenkins, do you have any questions? Do you know Julie Jenkins?
She's actually my sister.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do you have any questions for Mr. Sean Swanson here? We have 6 other viewers. Please feel free to log in. This is the time you can ask questions. Thank you very much, Julie. That was very nice of you to say. Great show. This is the time for you guys to log in and ask any questions that you may have. But I hope everybody walks away with some good information here this evening. Remember, wedding videography is not for everybody, but if it is, and you like it, and you love it, all you have to do is go to www.mywny, that's My Western New York, video.com, where you can check out Sean and some of his guys and girls' wedding video samples. You can actually view trailers online, so you can see all the amazing work that they do. You can see some short films and just a bunch of really neat stuff. And I just want to thank Sean for joining us tonight. I hope not a problem, and I hope you now have a better understanding of wedding cinematography. Like I initially said,
as much as you can pack into 1 hour.
Yeah, as much as you can pack into an hour. Like I initially said, wedding videography is like buying time travel. You're going to be able to introduce your grandchildren to your grandparents, which in moving video and hearing them talk, it's something I wish I had of my grandparents to show my grandchildren someday. And your life will be captured in a moment of just sound and video mixed together to create a beautiful wedding film that generations will cherish from now to come. And so again, if you want to check out some phenomenal films, wedding videos, you can again go to Western New York, WNYvideo.com, and you can see some samples there. And there's actually a few links to their Vimeo and YouTube page where you can actually check out some other stuff there. If you guys don't have any other questions, thank you for tuning in this evening, and we will see you next week. Next week, we are going to be talking about, this is a good one. Next week, we're talking about how not to piss off your wedding vendor.
Ooh.
Finding the right wedding vendor. What to say, what not to say, what to ask, what not to ask.
Don't worry, I don't get mad. You can never piss me off.
He may get. He's like a big teddy bear.
Right? But, the bride's crying shoulder for
that's it for 45 minutes.
He's a big softy on it.
So again, check out how next week's Wedding Leaks, how not to piss off your wedding vendor. So again, come visit us next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Thank you, and have a great evening.